Dan Rubenstein, welcome to week 7. We made it. After this week, I guess that means we'll be about halfway through the college football regular season, if you can believe that. How are you, sir?
I'm terrific, Ty. As always, terrific. I've been looking forward to this week for quite some time, both as a fan of the Oregon Ducks, and there is just something about, I know this is the 11th of October, which we're recording it, so it's the second Saturday of October, but this is when I really cherish the season, Ty. When you get into that early mid-October, when we're cracking that nut open, Ty, to see who teams really are. I have this nicknamed, and you can stop me if you're saving for our Saturday nickname for a little bit, but I have this as a Smoky Saturday, Ty.
Smoky Saturday.
There is something, anytime I walk by somebody grilling or smoking meat, whatever, at a park, in their home, whatever, I hear the helicopters. I'm like, oh, Saturday, oh, tailgating. And that's when I start, the weather's kind of turned here. So you smell the fireplaces a little bit more than you used to.
Yeah.
Or, the last couple of weeks or something like that. And then there's also something about the slate of games ahead of us, Ty, where you smell the flavor, Ty. You know there's flavor coming from this Saturday, but you can't really pinpoint it fully quite yet, which is why you and I are here. Come on.
That's why. No, Smoky Saturday is perfect because after this weekend with the big games for Oregon and Notre Dame, we're going to need a cigarette and maybe a
cigarette Saturday.
Maybe we're going to need a cigarette and to sit around a campfire and get our emotions out after all this, because there's a lot going down in week 7. Look, welcome back into the Verballerhood, one and all. We're going to go through a bunch of week 7 games for you all. Let's just jump right in. Yeah,
let's.
Dan, time, help. I need picks of the week.
This week, run the board over at Verballers.com, a $100 gift card to our friends over at Home Field. It was a sought-after prize the first time we did it. Decided to loop back around. We spent our hard-earned cash. Home Field, not a sponsor, could be. We are going to give away that gift card to the winner of the Week 7 game. Just go to Verballers.com. Just going out to PlayRunTheBoard.com. It is our weekly pick'em game. We're getting a ton of traction. People are very excited to play this game. You also get a bunch of other Patreon benefits while you are out there. Why don't we start with the big dog, I guess, of the week, Dan? 3:30 on ABC. It is your Oregon Ducks on the road at the Washington Huskies. Speaking of big dogs, I've got some thoughts on this game. You are the Oregon aficionado of the group, the Oregon aficionado that people have tuned in to hear. What say you, Oregon at Washington?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna take my Oregon hat off for a second here and just point out that this is just an incredible matchup. This is the matchup with what USC's defense has looked like lately, with what Utah's offense has looked like all season long without Cam Rising. It's one of the worst offenses in college football in terms of points scored per drive. So from a scoring efficiency metric, Utah has taken an enormous step back. That this is kind of... It's not the season, because these two teams could play again potentially in the Pac-12 championship game, but it has established itself, this matchup, as the prime time. I think it's at 3:30 Eastern, prime time matchup of the season out west. All due respect, obviously, to Coach Prime as well. And I can't wait. I have circled this. I'm putting my Oregon hat back on for a moment. I have circled this matchup for a year just because of how last year's matchup went. It was a great game. Bo Nix in that big spot getting hurt certainly affected things. He leaves and then comes back. Ty Thompson comes in, doesn't go well, and Oregon ends up losing that game. And on the other side, good for Washington. Good teams take advantage of opportunities. There was an opportunity. Washington got it done, had themselves a very successful year last year. Looks to be the most lethal offense in America this year. And so I can't wait. I've scribbled down a bunch of different things about what I'm excited to see in this game. From an Oregon perspective, it's Bo Nix on the road. He looked a little bit shaky against Texas Tech at times. He has looked shaky throughout his career on the road at times, but overall his Oregon career has been sterling, very, very strong. And he would be the primetime quarterback in this game if not for Michael Penix. Side of the ball. And so from an Oregon perspective, to me, it's Oregon has a defense that has taken leaps and bounds since last year. I saw some stat that 14 of the 22 players that have taken significant snaps for Oregon this season did not play in this game last year, which seems meaningful, hopefully, if you're an Oregon fan. Washington has been electric through the air. They seem to be healthy at receiver. Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan were sort of questions in the last couple weeks. McMillan missed a couple weeks there, but they are firing on all cylinders. This isn't a rushing team. They don't pretend like they're a rushing team. They do what they do, and they do it better than probably, depending on your viewpoint of their schedule. And I have the scoring. I know I'm going a mile a minute here, Ty.
No, please. I appreciate this emotional outburst from me. That's why the folks have tuned in.
I know. So, okay, this is the defenses that Washington has played, and we'll get to Oregon as well. Washington's defenses faced points per drive, 105, 90, 95, 67, 65. So they have not played they have not yet played anything above average defensively. And Oregon, you look at their schedule and the defenses and offenses that they've played, not particularly better. To me, this game comes down to moments. Washington in the red zone hasn't always been great when you're not able to run the ball. It's nitpicking. Washington's run defense, to me, is going to be huge. They allow third and shorts more often than just about anybody in the country. Oregon is sensational in short yardage situations. To me, it's a who can, I'm going to pre-settle here, Ty. Who gets off better? Okay. If Washington's defense can get off the field in a more efficient manner than Oregon's can, it's game over. UW wins at home in front of an electric crowd. Because I don't think we have lots of questions about these teams' strengths. I think it's going to come down to moments. It's going to come down to third and fourth and short. It's going to come down to, is Washington going to go for it on 4th and goal from the 4-yard line kind of thing? And because I think Oregon can do a better job at preventing Washington from doing what it wants than what Washington can do in preventing Oregon what it wants to do, I am going to take the Oregon Ducks.
Oh, a homer pick.
I'm going to take the homer pick.
A homer pick.
Because I don't play games with the listeners like you do, too. I don't say, well, I think Notre Dame's going to win, but I'm not going to pick Notre Dame. You know who you are. You know what you've done over these past few years.
Don't come at me. It's been a hard year already.
I am speaking from my gut, Ty, from my well-toned abdominals. I'm going to say, I think defense right now is more important. I worry about all the things I'm still going to worry about with Oregon and Bo Nix and missing shots and missing open receivers as he did against Texas Tech in big moments. But I'm still going to go with the seasoning, what I think is the seasoning of this Oregon defense, that in a high leverage game like this, you give me the team that can get 1 to 3 more stops, I'm going to go with that team.
What does your phone, what does your text thread look like with Jeff Schwartz right now? How many times did he message you today about this game?
Look, today only?
Yeah.
15. Jeff is the kind of fan that, and obviously played offensive line for Oregon for years. Sure. He is positive of his viewpoint of the game, and he just wants the game to happen so he doesn't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
He wants it in the rearview mirror so he can move on, knowing that Oregon's either going to lose or win, and so he can collect the data and emotions from that. So I think Washington, look, if Michael Penix makes incredible throws, makes 8 incredible throws, Washington will win this game by 7 to 10 points. I just think I think there are more good players on the Oregon roster. Washington has struggled to get to the passer this year, which was supposed to be a strength with ZTF and Braylon Trice, whereas Oregon has been a pleasant surprise in how many different guys are ending up in the backfield. So that's where I'm going to give the lean at this point. Running and defense, I think, is just going to be the edge here.
This is the download within the download. I appreciate it. That was far better analysis than I could give. There are 3 things about Washington that frighten me in this game. First off, defensive line against the run. I think Oregon could push them around a little bit. Secondly, the defense does not blitz nor sack the quarterback. Bo Nix has been pretty efficient in his time in Eugene.
Clean, by the way. The line is kept
exactly right.
Clean. Yeah.
So I think you need to get pressure on Bo Nix if you want to win this game. It's going to be, I think, back and forth in a very close affair. And the other thing to that point, I would add that Michael Penix has seen almost no pressure this season. We know he's very capable in the offense. This is his 3rd year now. If you go back to his time at Indiana, where he has been in this Kalen DeBoer system, I think very highly of Michael Penix. I think the NFL does as well. I think the Heisman voters will as well. This is not so much a slight on Michael Penix as it is we haven't necessarily seen him with this group of receivers, face any kind of real significant pressure. So to that end, I think Oregon is a more physical team. I think they can control the tempo of this game on the ground and in the trenches. And again, a really good game last year. I think it'll be a really good game this year. Washington won by 3 last year, 37-34.
Yes.
And that was a game that featured a bunch of big plays late.
And that red zone turnovers. Michael Penix threw that interception that changed things. I think Oregon had a fumbled snap that changed things deep. And so it was a high leverage moment game last year. I anticipate more of the same.
34-30 Oregon wins.
That's what I have. Yeah, I had something in there. I think I said 37-33 or 38-34, something like that.
So we agree. That's not good news for the Oregon Ducks.
No, not at all.
Let's move on.
Although you've taken to looking at my West Coast viewpoint and just suckling off of the Dan Rubenstein.
I've been copying. I've been peeking out of the corner of my eye copying.
Yeah, the Lehigh Valley Barnacle over there.
That's right. Well, you heard the big dog. You lobbied for this game as a big dog.
I did.
I don't know if I fully agree, but we try to keep the big dogs to 3. And you chose this game over another one.
We talking JMU, Georgia Southern? Because I have a lot of thoughts.
3:30 CBS. It's A&M on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee favored by 3.5 points. A&M is 4-2 after the loss a week ago to Bama. Tennessee's 4-1 coming off a bye. Interestingly, these teams are separated by about 70 spots in terms of the current strength of schedule, for whatever that is worth. Tennessee has not really gotten into the meat of its schedule yet. I think this game in week 7 is sort of the leading edge for that. What I am hung up on in this game is something that you asked a few weeks ago. I don't remember how long ago it was, but
okay.
I don't recall if it was in one of our bonus shows out on verballers.com or if it was one of the Burning Questions episodes or one of the previous recaps. It's all been sort of a blur over the last couple of weeks, if I'm being honest. Is Joe Milton good? Is he good?
It's a worthwhile question.
Is he good?
A ton of picks.
Is he good, or is he just Joe Milton? How is Joe Milton?
Okay. This is what we talked about in our preview. Now we're going way back into August, but we said, look, what if Hendon Hooker was just really, really good? And that combined with the system that can take advantage of what makes him really, really good ended up with an incredible, when healthy, Tennessee offense, especially with the emergence of Jalen Hyatt last year. Tennessee has since pivoted. They run the ball really well. They have a really good offensive line. They're winning in new and different and interesting ways. Their defense seems to have improved. I think Joe Milton is very specific, and I think he's sort of, injuries are treated day to day. I think he's sort of week to week. The Tennessee receiving core has been beat up and hasn't been where it was last year. And so I don't know if what Joe Milton is, I don't know if what is being asked of Joe Milton is necessarily, hey, be Hendon Hooker, let's trust you to bomb it deep. I think the offensive brain trust in Knoxville looks at him. It's not that he has limitations. There's like, let's play to his strengths and let's not try to force him to be Hendon Hooker. So I think he can be inaccurate. I think he can be frustrating if you're a Tennessee fan, but I don't think he is at the lows of where he was at Michigan. No.
It's an interesting matchup. It's an interesting matchup because of how I think you want to go at A&M. When we saw it last week with the Bama game and Jalen Milroe hitting some big pass plays, right? I'm not worried in the same way I was last year about Tennessee doing that to teams because of that pivot. They were a pretty good running team last year. This year, it seems like they've had to lean into it more because they don't quite have the same pop in the passing game. And that to me frightens me from taking Tennessee minus the points here, because I feel like the strength of this team is on the ground, and that's actually the strength of the A&M defense as well. That is not to say they won't try to take some deep shots. I think they will. Joe Milton, I would much prefer Joe Milton just air it out 80 yards in the air than throw a finesse ball over the middle. I much more confidence in him just unleashing the beast. But that's also not the strength of this offense in the early part here. And They've got the injury now to Brew McCoy, so the receiving core is I don't want to say a shell of what it was before. I don't mean that, but it's not as potent. I don't think. I kept coming back to this feeling in the pit of my stomach that I think A&M's pretty good. They got their moments too. They're not perfect.
Yeah.
I think this is a close football game. I'm going to go A&M something like 27-24. I think A&M goes on the road and wins. Big road win for the Aggies in Neyland Stadium because I just think they're a better team, frankly.
You're so disrespectful. I'm going to give you an out after my analysis to see if you want to change your mind. Okay?
Oh, I'm still waiting for I thought that was the analysis.
No, you just asked me about Joe Milton.
Oh, well,
I didn't make a pick.
Go ahead. Did you find a killer stat? Did you find some sort of diamond in the statistical rough after Tennessee lost on the road to Florida and hasn't really played anyone otherwise? Like
game in Gainesville? This game in Gainesville? This game at the Swamp?
This game is not in the Swamp. Continue.
By the way, General Nealon went to Texas A&M. There's a fun little nugget. Two very good dogs, right? You've got the Coonhound at Tennessee and Reveille, the beautiful. Why am I blanking on the breed, Ty? This is your area of expertise. The collie? Is it a collie?
Yeah, it's a Lassie dog.
Collie's the breed name? Yes. Okay, beautiful dogs. So that's a good matchup. Maybe that's my fantasy thing this week. Cutaway dog shots with the Husky in Seattle, too.
We're going to add a fantasy thing segment at the end of this episode just to get it all out because I've got a really good one that no one's picked up on yet.
That might be my fantasy thing. Dog cutaway shots. Okay. Tennessee is coming off of a bye. They run the ball well behind a very good offensive line. The defense has stepped up and gets to play against which quarterback? Max Johnson, big game, tough crowd on the road. Okay, just
Max
verifying here. Just verifying. This is where you're putting your American dollars. And we have Tennessee coming off of a bye. Tennessee scoring 40+ points against South Carolina, winning that game by 3 touchdowns. And Texas A&M coming off of a demoralizing loss in which they scored, 2 offensive second half points? Not 1. Was it 2 second half points? You can look this up.
I believe
verify.
So.
Fact check.
So. Yeah.
And coaching malpractice, it seemed, with some Jimbo Fisher short yardage calls. So if you think this game is going to be relatively close, you're saying, I believe in Jimbo. I believe in Max Johnson. I believe in this offensive line. You also believe in their defensive line and getting stops against Tennessee. I don't know. I think Knoxville's a tough place to go. I included this in a big dog tie, by the way, because I think whoever loses this game, the emotional outbursts online are going to be très magnifique. Ty.
Oh my God.
These are 2 emotional fan bases. Everybody has an emotional fan base. But yeah, man, if you're Tennessee, you're already sort of, we lost to Florida. This Florida. Of all Floridas, we lost to this Florida. If you're A&M, driver's seat to beat Alabama. We lost to Bama. We lost to 56th ranked points per drive offense, Alabama. The 1 year at home, you're like, we can beat Bama. Bama. And they lose, and now they go to Tennessee. Situationally, I think it's a no-brainer. Give me the points. Or I'm going to give those points.
Give the points.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at you. Okay. 3.5. 3.5 is too many. I see Tennessee winning. I see Tennessee winning for all the reasons that you described and still winning 27-20.
I have the image seared into my brain. I don't dislike Max Johnson personally. I have no reason to dislike him. But he is waiting and waiting as he's getting sacked, as he's going down. All right. Now I'm going to throw it.
Every ball is late. Every ball is late from Max Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the worry.
I don't blame you. And I am worried a little bit about the Jimbo Fisher shrinkage situation again that we discussed on the last
Do I have
episode.
That sound at the ready? Is it this?
I don't know if you do.
No, not that one.
I mean, shrinkage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Significant shrinkage.
Yeah. Let's move on. Next big dog. 7:30 NBC, USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame favored by 2.5 points, Dan. Let's go. Let's talk. You want to talk?
I would love to talk.
Let's talk about this game. We have seen something over the last 3 weeks that I have no idea why it is not being discussed more. Just out there in the college football ether, in Notre Dame circles, what have you.
Yeah.
14 points for Notre Dame against Ohio State. 21 points against Duke. 20 points against Louisville. All the talk this offseason was about Sam Hartman. Missing link, missing piece. Why doesn't it feel
he's got
that
caveman beard missing link? Yeah.
Why doesn't it feel that way? You want to talk about shrinkage?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Jared Parker. And let's talk by extension about Marcus Freeman. Why are they easing into every game like they are easing into a cold bath?
Is Notre Dame, are they the rich man's Northwestern, can only really perform in Ireland? Is that something that has occurred to you?
How dare you? How dare you come on this show and bring that up?
They're the super rich man's Northwestern.
How dare you?
Okay, continue.
Let's talk about significant shrinkage here.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. There is no excuse for any of this. There is no excuse in my mind for any of what we've seen on the offensive side of the ball because they were essentially better at the same game plan a year ago.
Yeah.
A lot of the same players, worse quarterback. The line didn't suddenly get worse. It's all the same guys from that team.
Tommy Rees calling the offense.
Tommy Rees calling the offense. It feels like the line is completely out of sync with whatever plays they are calling. Completely out of sync. And you know what? I'm also going to make an assumption that it ain't Joe Rudolph's fault. Joe Rudolph was partially the architect behind Jonathan Taylor running for like a gajillion yards in his time at Wisconsin. I don't think he's the reason. I think the reason is Jared Parker. I think he stinks as an offensive coordinator.
Wow.
He does.
October 11th. The flag has been planted.
I think he stinks.
Yeah.
I did the independent podcast, new podcast with our friends Pete Sampson and Matt Fortuna.
Not a hair in sight, right? On that podcast. Not
Your
a
words,
single strand.
Your words, not mine.
No healthy follicle. We love them. Okay, continue.
They're good guys.
Yeah.
The reason I bring this up, I did it a couple weeks ago. It was after the Ohio State loss. And Matt had a really interesting question for me. And because this was after the 10-man debacle, and he was pretty fired up about it.
Mm-hmm.
His point was he was a little surprised that people weren't in the Notre Dame world weren't making more of it, that it was a close game, and the fact that they could have won sort of overshadowed the fact that it was a huge blunder that should at some point have repercussions. I don't disagree with that, but the question was, what's it going to take to lose the fan base? And I said at that point in time, getting blown out to Ohio State, USC, or Clemson. That's something like that. Sure. Something like that is what I think it would take. One of those circumstances. I think there's a chance Notre Dame gets blown out against USC.
What?
I think there's a chance.
Out of your ever-loving mind.
No.
Continue.
I think there's a chance to get blown out against USC because we have seen play call. If you look at what has happened over the last couple of weeks through the lens of play calling and offensive organization, it makes a little bit more sense. Close game against Ohio State with some better play calling on offense early, for sure, early. Perhaps that's a winnable game. The game against Duke, you win, but not really because of the play calling, because of a fantastic singular effort in a clutch moment by Sam Hartman.
True.
And then last week against Louisville, again, this is an actual loss. And this is, I think, because the offense was dead set and determined to run the football and did not have a plan B when they could.
Okay.
So now we enter a game here against USC where USC is going to score points. Notre Dame's got a good defense, but USC is going to score points. And Notre Dame enters this game in a similar situation where you would think they can run the ball against a team that struggles stopping it. However, just like the last 3 weeks, everybody knows it's coming. Even for a moment in time against NC State, they knew it was coming and it didn't go anywhere. I am worried about the offense being telegraphed. I am worried about there not being a plan B. I am worried that in a broader sense, Marcus Freeman thought Jared Parker was the best guy to call this offense. I am worried that this is the guy he wanted all along. And despite the Andy Ludwigs and Colin Kleins, whatever other names you want to bandy about.
You want Utah's offense right now, Ty? Is that something you're interested in?
At least the guy's got experience, man.
Okay.
At least he's got experience. I am worried that there is nobody else that they could find to run this thing other than Jared Parker. I don't think he's very good. I've got USC 38-20 lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
Have you considered Notre Dame? First of all, no better human for Notre Dame football than Mario Cristobal not kneeling to overshadow the 10 men on the field, right? Send some Sherry's Berries down to Coral Gables if you're Marcus Freeman, right?
Not a sponsor. Once was a sponsor.
Used to be. Yeah.
If they're still a company, could
What's
be.
edible arrangements? Something thoughtful, right? Send it on over to the Miami facility. Thanks for that, guy.
Nice little news dump. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a hypothetical here real quick. If Notre Dame has 11 men on the field in that final play against Ohio State and they get that stop, a la Oklahoma against Texas, a big dramatic goal line stop and a huge leverage moment, they win that game. And they still look like they do against Duke. They still lose to Louisville, but they have that feather, a top 10, what will end up being a top 10, top 12 win or whatever, wherever Ohio State would be ranked if they lost to Notre Dame. They have that feather. What's the spread in this game? 5.5? 4? Something, right? I'm just saying the margin for this number is so razor thin. And I understand the emotions that Notre Dame has been playing with all these close games. Not that Louisville ended up being all that close, but high atmosphere, electric atmosphere games. Notre Dame hasn't had that guppy right in the middle of this all. They haven't had to play a UMass or something like that.
You love that term, guppy. You've been going with that this year, haven't you?
Maybe. That sounds right.
I like it. No, I like it. Continue.
Okay. USC's been trying to lose games. USC has been trying to lose. They tried to look more vulnerable than they ever should have against ASU, against Arizona. They go down 17-0. Colorado storms back in that second half. There's just something underlying about this USC team that's essentially hope Caleb Williams can drag us across the finish line for 60 straight minutes, because that's what it takes. I think USC is masquerading as an 8-4 team that can win 10 to 11 games in the right scenario if Caleb Williams is able to consistently make incredible plays, or make incredible plays when he needs to, like he did against Arizona late. USC doesn't have the defense. I don't think they have the top tier receiving talent, not even in the conference, let alone the country, that they kind of did last year when they had Mario Williams and Jordan Addison. The offensive line this year has been keeping Caleb Williams under attack. So if you're going to tell me that if maybe the strongest thing Notre Dame has done this year is rush the passer and collapse pockets, yes.
No.
They haven't been great against the run, as we saw those big run plays last year. Was it Jawar Jordan for Louisville? But they have done. It's Howard Cross, the big dude in the middle.
Yeah. No, look, they've had the defense by and large has been pretty good. I feel like it is unfair to them because they have not gotten as much help as they should have from the offense. Frankly, the offense is a one-trick pony. They do not have a plan B. And USC knows it.
Sure.
They know it.
Okay. So I just think USC is a one-butt team. They won, but right? That's who USC. Now they're going on the road. I still think the atmosphere is going to be very good. I still think the depth of your emotions, the depths of Notre Dame fan emotions is always going to be more dramatic than it needs to be. It's same for me with Oregon, same for my Oregon friends, whatever. Like, it's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it might be able to be, right? Notre Dame was never going to go to the playoff this year. So if Notre Dame is merely a 9-3 type team, some of the good, some of the bad of 9-3, and they're hosting USC, and they get the USC defense, and the USC defense might be the cure for an overrated run game.
You just watch. You watch.
I'm just
you're gonna see why you're wrong this weekend.
You just love your road dogs for some weird reason. I don't think Notre Dame's gonna look great on offense, but you give me Sam Hartman, you give me good tight ends, you give me the best of Audric Estime, I think they can win this game. So
Audric Estime has like 2 yards of carry his last 3 games.
Hasn't played the USC front. Right?
Okay. All right.
Kind of feisty up front. Duke's coached by Mike Elko. Ohio State has NFL talent up front. No. Give me Notre Dame here, 23-17.
Oh my God!
I think they hold down the USC offense too.
You're a sucker for pageantry, is what you are.
Why do you like this USC team on the road in the tough? Like, it's kind of dumb. But continue.
All right, fair enough. So look, we're gonna go through windows. We're gonna rank our favorite games in each window. Before we do, though, importantly, weather report. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yes.
We are ready for another week of games, and I'll tell you, regions of concern abound. The Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Pacific Northwest could be drizzly for the Ducks in Seattle. We've got rain in State College, Ann Arbor, and College Park. But solar Saturday. That's right, a partial solar eclipse across the country in the middle of the day. If you're in the Big 12 country, SEC land, you will have a chance to see it. Bring those eclipse glasses while you're at the town.
Ooh.
Beautiful insight from our friend Tim Buckley. Thank you, Tim. Bring those solar eclipse glasses.
Which market are we talking about? Tim Buckley? Where does he do his weather report?
North Carolina.
He just is the voice of North Carolina weather.
I think after hearing this, it's fair to say he's the voice of North Carolina.
He is the guy. Okay, continue. What are we doing here with this early window?
We're just gonna rank the games. We're gonna rank our games from most interesting to least interesting. We each get 3 that we can put in the backpack with us.
Okay,
for the weekend. All right.
Our trail mix games.
All right, that's right. Early window. So I've got 3 games here that I think are of particular interest. I don't think it's a great window. If I'm being honest, this might be the window of opportunity. But the 3 that are of most interest to me are Syracuse at Florida State. Florida State favored by 17.5 points. Arkansas at Alabama. Alabama favored by 19.5 points. And Michigan State at Rutgers. Rutgers favored at home by 5.5 points. Do my 3 differ from your 3?
Oh, yeah. I don't want anything to do with watching Michigan State football. Even
I didn't say I want to watch it. I just said this is why I'm interested.
Well, look, if you're talking about your quad box on YouTube TV, not a sponsor, never will be.
No, probably not.
I don't want Michigan State Rutgers infecting my quad. Okay, the 3 most interesting early games to me. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Arkansas, Alabama. Now, why is that interesting to me? Well, it's a letdown look-ahead sandwich for Alabama. Emotional win against Texas A&M, Tennessee, I believe, at home next week. You get wild card elements of Jalen Milroe. The best of him is incredible. The rest of it is like, does he have a playbook? Is there a PDF we can send to Jalen Milroe's EDU? No? Okay. That to me is interesting. I mentioned 56th ranked points per drive offense. Alabama's offensive line is still a mess. Arkansas's defense is ahead of its offense. You get the crazy mismatch of Alabama's front on defense against Arkansas's offensive line. I still like watching KJ Jefferson. I like watching KJ Cook, and it makes me feel bad. I kind of wish that Arkansas would have done a better job and Sam Pittman would have done a better job surrounding him with talent. And the other thing is with Arkansas, Andrew Armstrong. How about that, Ty? A D2 transfer, Texas A&M Commerce, coming in and being the go-to dude for the Hogs. I like those stories, Ty. And so I'm here for Arkansas. I'm here for Alabama. Alabama's going to win this game easily. But you're going to get wacky plays from Jalen Milroe in either direction, and that's worth a quad spot for
What I like about Arkansas this year, I mean, Arkansas is going through a murderer's row here. Yeah. Let's be real. 4 straight losses, BYU, LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss. And now this week they've got Bama. There's a little bit of the Black Knight from Monty Python here where you chop off the arms and legs and they're still fighting. They come out with fight. I like that about this team.
Sure.
What interests me more, though, is I think if Bama wins in resounding fashion, as I think you and I both expect here, I think this is the point that we can declare it.
Roll time.
I think we enter into zombie Alabama territory if Bama wins this game.
Is Jalen Milroe is much better than Deacon Hill? Is that Iowa's quarterback's name?
Yeah, I would say that.
There is something analogous of what Alabama is trying to do this year, where it's like defense is ready to play big games against big teams. Offense, well, that's a different storyline involved, different timeline this offense is on. And so there is a little bit, I'm not saying this to be mean, there's a little bit of Iowa to Alabama this year within the context where it's like, look, they're kind of half a team related to where they have been. Well, they're still winning a bunch. And I kind of see it. And so I'm interested in that sort of new direction for Alabama. Can I give you my second team? Second game?
That's heresy. Yeah. So, okay. So we do agree on that game, at least. There's one game that we agree on.
Yes.
What are your other 2?
Iowa State, Cincinnati. Okay. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I don't know what Iowa State is this year. I wish they took more chances downfield with your guy, Rocco Beck. Rock hard for Rocco. You keep texting. I have a text 3 a.m.
It's Rocktober.
It is Rocktober. Iowa State has a dude who has blocked not 1, not 2, but 3 punts. Nobody else in college football has done that. Their most havoc-y player's name is Bacon. Okay. I think it's Caleb Bacon.
Okay.
And Iowa State has the most gumpy Big 12 schedule in November in that they keep finding themselves at notable places in history. That is to say that Iowa State has a combined 17-5 teams, Kansas, BYU, Texas, Kansas State in November. So I just kind of want to see what Iowa State can possibly morph into with another winnable game. I have them winning here. I have them. It's kind of my lock of the week.
Really? Kinda or is?
It is. It is.
Lock of the week.
Damn. Okay.
Iowa State not great on the road since like 2018 as a road dog, but I don't think Cincinnati's good at all. I don't think the defense is all that good aside from, I think his name's Eric Phillips, who's been a nightmare for teams. So I think the Cincinnati defense is a great moment for Iowa State. They're not going to go Porky Pigging it pantsless like they did last week to get going and get another win in conference.
Let me give you my two, and then we can do your final one. I'm interested in Syracuse at Florida State because Syracuse got absolutely housed a week ago against North Carolina. And what we're seeing develop in the ACC now is a 3-team race where we've got North Carolina, Louisville, and Florida State all unbeaten. None of them play each other during the regular season. And I like Florida State's road best, if only because I think they're the better team. But there are some games like this one that could sneak up on them. They're at Wake Forest at the end of the month. They're at Pitt at the start of November. I don't think as highly about Pitt, but Pitt's always kind of a weird game on the road.
Well, Phil Dracovic benched.
Benched. Maybe Christian Veilleux can give them a little bit of juice. I don't know. But my point is that Florida State's lost games like this before. And I said at the top of the year, I'll say it again now. I'm curious to see if they can take care of business the way that North Carolina took care of business. So this is more just like a data point for me that I'm interested in. I think Florida State wins by like 20. I think they'll cover. And I come back to the Michigan State-Rutgers thing. Rutgers favored by 5.5 at home.
Yeah.
Perhaps I am a glutton for punishment here. I am interested in this for a couple reasons. First off, Michigan State plus 5.5 for me seems like that is the play. A lot of points in a game against Rutgers. Secondly, this would actually be Rutgers' 5th win on the season. And they've got Indiana on deck next week.
True.
They have not had six wins in a season since 2014. And on the flip side, it is almost impossible for Michigan State to go on any kind of improbable bull run without winning this game. On a per play basis, their defense is actually not that bad. You talked about Rutgers' defense as well. Like there are flashes here on both sides of this. I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think Rutgers wins 24-21, but Michigan State covers. And this is actually a fun game to watch.
I hope so. The Rutgers defense is pretty good. They've gotten it done. They get after teams.
Give me your final game, final point of intrigue here in the early window.
This is my no-brainer of the morning window. Big Sun Belt East implications with Georgia Southern and JMU. Jordan McLeod just picks up a knapsack and keeps on transferring USF to Arizona, now to JMU. The two quarterbacks in this game combined for over 1,000 yards against each other last year. Georgia Southern is Clay Helton. They've got two really good defensive linemen. They're a top 45 scoring efficiency team, both on offense and defense. They lost to Wisconsin, but they should have a really entertaining back half of the season and a very fun conference. They play a bunch of teams who I think are either 500 or better. So they've got a tougher schedule. A lot of them should be toss-ups. And I don't know. Also, the Dukes, who they're playing, are full-on good. Like,
all right.
JMU might go undefeated and not make a bowl game. I don't know. I think Jordan McLeod is good. The pass rush is good. Like, they beat UVA, Troy, South Alabama. Like, I don't know. Like,
all right.
Just a quality game you should watch in a window that isn't super seductive. And even with the music I'm playing here, Ty.
Okay. That's Pac-12 After Dark music, isn't it?
I know. This is Sunbelt's on a frisky afternoon.
Oh my God. Okay. Afternoon window is a family show, Dan.
Yeah.
My most interesting game in this block is 3:30 FS1, Kansas minus 3.5 at Oklahoma State.
Okay.
How wild is it to you that if Kansas wins this game in week 7, no less, they'll be bowl eligible already? They'll be bowl eligible.
Pretty crazy. Yeah.
What a ride, man, for Lance Leipold. That said, I'm taking Oklahoma State plus 3.5 points.
Ooh.
And not only that, they're my home dog.
Yakko's Home Dog of the Week.
So look, it did not start out well for Oklahoma State. They went 2-2. They had the bad loss a couple weeks ago to South Alabama, 33-7, if memory serves. Somehow they gave up 34 to Iowa State, a team that does not score 34 on anybody. They gave up a lot of big plays in that game. That has sort of been the trend for them this year. I don't think it's likely to end this week against Kansas. Kansas is like 10th nationally in explosive plays. But here is the thing that I am focused in on. Oklahoma State looked like a different team after its bye week and did beat K-State early last week. Plus, it was the second straight game where their offense outperformed projections. It was clearly their best defensive performance we've seen yet. I am wondering if something clicked on the bye week, and you can score on Kansas. So at home, Oklahoma State, I've got Oklahoma State plus the number. I think they win outright.
Okay, so here's the thing you need to know, Ty. You look at the past few years of Kansas's points per drive defense. It's as you would expect. Like 100, these are made up numbers, but around like 126, 119, 104, 130. And I'm here to tell you, Tyler, today, Kansas is ranked and have built the number 99th rated defense. Double ditch. It's all happening in Lawrence, even away from Lawrence as this game is in Stillwater. I like Kansas here to win outright.
My second game, that was funny.
Yeah.
My second game here that I'm most interested in the window is 3:30 CBS, Florida at South Carolina.
Okay.
Carolina favored by 2.5, literal coin flip here. But I think a really good game. I think we know what we have with South Carolina. Are they kind of Arkansas East?
South Carolina, Arkansas East.
Like led by the quarterback, a little bit of the Black Knight complex as well. Well, they'll just fight you. Doesn't matter.
Like a shaky offensive coordinator hire. Yeah.
I think they're Arkansas East. I think Carolina's better than Arkansas.
Hogs and Cox. Okay.
Florida to me is very interesting in the second half. Their defense is much better than a year ago. They are lacking a next gear on offense for many of the reasons we've already described here. But we're going to see them against some really interesting teams the rest of the way. We got Georgia, we got LSU, Missouri, Florida State, all in the final 5 weeks of the season. I think this is a must-win for Florida. I think this is a must-win game. I think South Carolina will be jacked up for this one, but I think Florida knows that they need to win this one, and I think they can win. I think they've got the line play to win. So I like Florida outright here.
I refuse to put this in my quad. So I'm not. That was not one of my three.
Not going in the quad box. Okay.
You've given two, right?
I've given two.
Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Florida, South Carolina. Yeah, I don't really want to watch this game.
Okay, fair. Look, this is a subjective segment.
Yeah.
My final game in this window is BYU at TCU.
I considered this, but I don't have this one either.
Yeah, BYU's 4-1. They come off the bye. They are currently projected to lose 6 of their next 7. And I am not buying it at all. I'm not buying it at all because 5 of those 7 games are projected as 1-score affairs. So maybe we see a reverse frosting here.
A reverse frosting. Okay.
Your term, not mine.
I know.
In the 1-score game. Maybe they go in BYU's direction. I also think there's a chance TCU is just like not that good.
I think there's definitely that chance.
They're not as explosive as a year ago. They're not good at all at finishing drives. I think BYU plus the 5.5.
Where's this game?
Games in Fort Worth. I love my road dogs.
Away from altitude. Yeah. I think BYU is a better team. I think TCU might be full on disappointing overall this year. Like they might miss a bowl game this year.
Yeah.
With the way the back half of their schedule plays out. So didn't choose this one. I think that's spot on from you. I have Cal Utah just because of the possibility of Cam Rising coming back into our lives. Cal's defense ranked 95th in points per drive.
Whoa.
What?
Dog, you're putting this in your quad box? You're putting Cal Utah in a quad box.
Well, here's what it's up against. Virginia Tech's offense and just the Virginia Tech experience in general. Illinois in one of my quad boxes. UMass in one of my quad boxes. I'm going with Cal Utah just because I want there to be more intrigue at the top of the Pac-12. And we'll have that if Cam Rising is back. I don't think Utah has earned minus, 13 and a half, something like that right now. Cal's offense is fun enough that this game could be entertaining. Whereas I look at what it's up against, and I don't know if I'd see entertainment from a lot of these matchups. So,
all right. So you've got that one. What are your other two then? Do you not agree with
I agree with Kansas, Oklahoma State.
Okay.
By the way, Jeremy Robinson, pay attention to him on the Kansas 99th ranked defense. Where's my sound? There it is. Double ditch. Okay. My third game is Iowa-Wisconsin. Now, I'm going to tell you why. Wisconsin's offense against Iowa's defense is obviously the headliner here. Wisconsin's defense has actually been pretty decent, and the schedule hasn't been incredible, and Iowa's offense certainly has its restrictions. See? Isn't that like a nice political...
Has its restrictions. That was artful. Thank you.
I'm not piling on. That's not who I'm not building my career out of piling on Iowa. So, here's what I'm going to say. There is something crazy intriguing about watching Iowa football games. They're so specific in the way that they have to win that if you are doing something really, really well, that's kind of enough for me to watch. If you are doing something very well and the other thing terribly, I kind of want to see how it all plays out.
It's a little bit like watching a service academy.
There is that element. And so I would be horrified and furious if I were an Iowa fan, and this is the product that was out on the field. I would be even worse if I played outside linebacker or something for Iowa. When you look at my body, you could understand why that seems realistic.
Right.
But I love the specificity of Iowa football. And against Wisconsin, I made a nature film of this way back.
Yeah, we're going to post this. We're going to post this out on Twitter, and
it's a big beefy matchup.
It's great.
I like it. I'm into it.
All right. No, I'm glad you picked it. I figured you would. That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Let's go to the nightcap.
Can I give you, by the way, one more quick nugget about Iowa football?
Oh, I mean, you're on an Iowa kick.
This Iowa offense has 5 top 50 SP plus defenses left, and Northwestern. So there's that to look forward to.
So Brian's not going to hit the KPIs this year.
I don't think he's gonna.
I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. Surely we agree on Miami at North Carolina in the nightcap.
Of course.
Miami at North Carolina. This is the one that I thought we would include as a big dog. You wanted Tennessee, Texas A&M, the battle of the dogs, so to speak. North Carolina favored by 3.5 at home. This is interesting because obviously Carolina's undefeated. They look really good. And Miami is coming off, according to Dan Le Batard, the worst loss in program history.
They lost to FIU in this millennium.
They did. But this was like a symbolic loss in many respects. It was bad. 83% of the money right now is on North Carolina. And it depends where you look. In some spots, you can grab Miami at +4.
Okay.
For all of the talk about North Carolina's improved defense, and it is improved, I need to emphasize that. It is not a brick wall.
Especially against the run. Yeah.
It is not a brick wall. You can score on North Carolina. Pitt scored 24 on them with Phil Jurkovec. Secondly, this goes back to something you said on the episode, I guess that dropped yesterday. This matchup screams Mario Cristobal Gorilla Ball, right?
Sure.
It screams it because of what you just described. You can run. There is a real advantage for Miami in that sense. I also think this is a pretty good team. I think this is a pretty good Miami team, totally separate from what we saw happen a week ago, which was, it should not have happened. Right now, in this moment of week 7, if you are a Miami fan, if you're a Miami booster, if you're a Miami player, I guess you're not a player, but sure, if you're a player, what the hell? This is the moment. This is the moment where you find out what kind of leadership you get from Mario Cristobal. I'm sure you have jokes. I encourage those jokes on the show, but this is when you find out. This is when the rubber meets the road. Right on the heels of a horrible loss, what kind of team do you get the next week after? I think he should be able to refocus them. This is a game of enormous importance. It is a must-win game for Miami. You need to get the taste of that Georgia Tech loss out of your mouth. I have Miami outright. I've got Miami outright. I've got them 38-30. I say all this not in a vacuum because it is clearly of importance for North Carolina as well. If North Carolina gets past Miami, it's a glide path to the last 3 weeks of the season when they've got Duke, then they're on the road at Clemson and on the road at NC State to close things out in back-to-back weeks. So, like, it gets late early if you're another team in the ACC looking to try and get above UNC in the standings if North Carolina does not lose here to Miami. So I think it's a good matchup for the Canes. I'm going to go Canes.
Okay. May I join you in zagging?
You are welcome. You're
Okay.
welcome to join me on the zag.
So as many have pointed out, Mario Cristobal had a similar experience at Oregon in 2018 when they lose to Stanford after Anil would have iced it for the Ducks. They follow that up with beating then number 24 Cal, I think on the road. I'll verify this right now. It was at Cal, yes. So they went on the road after an embarrassing loss against a ranked team. And at the time, Cal was ranked, which it doesn't matter after the fact to say that like this is who Cal was or something, but like there was a number next to their name. It was a decently sized game, a ranked matchup between Oregon and Cal. I think Mario is just better on the road for whatever reason. Like Hurts Miles Mario is just better. So Oregon beats Ohio State on the road. Arguably Oregon's best Pac-12 win, beating up on Utah in the Pac-12 championship. I think that game was in the Bay Area. Beating USC a couple of times, huge in LA. Like these were the signature wins for Mario at Oregon. Very few of them, if any, happen in Autzen. So you get away from the expectations. You get away from the fallout that this is the worst Miami loss of all time. You go to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the atmosphere is not all that crazy, which should feel like home, obviously, and playing at home in Miami.
What a dagger.
You get a North Carolina defense that I think I believe in, but I'm not fully sold on quite yet. If they're able to stop Miami on the ground, then I'll be a believer. I think there is something nice about getting away for Miami.
All right.
I think they're going to be able to run. I believe in TBD as a good quarterback that had a bad week last week. So I am going Miami outright in a sort of like us versus the world moment here for the Canes. I think they win, and I think they win by a touchdown. I have them winning here 31-24.
Okay. Yeah, as Verballer Emery has pointed out, perhaps Miami should take a knee on the first play just to prove they have it in the playbook. Yeah.
I was figuring out how to workshop calling Mario Cristobal Neil Armstrong with a Kneel.
Yeah.
But I didn't, he's the pioneer of something idiotic instead of something incredible. But I couldn't get there. So we'll stick with Mario.
All right. 2 more games here in this window for me. I've got Mizzou at Kentucky. I've got Wyoming at Air Force. That's my final 2 points of intrigue. The Mizzou-Kentucky one, I think, is self-explanatory. Also a double letdown spot with 2 teams that lost their first games a week ago.
Yeah.
Kentucky's had a little bit more time to get it out of their system because they were basically dead within the first 15 minutes of that Georgia game. That was never close. To me, this is either a shootout or a rock fight and almost nowhere in between. I take Mizzou outright. I've got them outright. Last week was a pretty good indicator to me that you can throw in Kentucky, and I still think Mizzou's pretty good. I'm not fully sold on Mizzou as like the full reclamation project has been successful on offense, but Brady Cook's look really good. And I think a couple things go a different direction last week. They end up winning that game. So for me, it's Mizzou. It's Mizzou outright.
I'm going LSU Auburn for the same reason. I want to see Iowa football just because is Auburn going to put up 744 yards of offense? What does Auburn putting up a ton of offense look like? Well, we can find out if and when they play LSU this weekend. So I have that on there. Otherwise, I considered Kansas State, Texas Tech.
What about UCLA-Oregon State? Is that your final one?
No. I actually, no. Yeah. UCLA-Oregon State is the final one. I had also considered Arizona-Wazoo just because it's a letdown spot for Arizona, going down the road. Taylor Upshaw has been very good for Arizona, the Michigan transfer. Arizona has a tough stretch before the Territorial Cup. So I'm going UCLA-Oregon State because if UCLA's defense is for real, they will really show it against Oregon State, who should still have a tough offense, even with some of DJU's limitations. So I'm going UCLA-Oregon State, Auburn-LSU, Miami, North Carolina.
And the intrigue for me in the Wyoming-Air Force game, first off, Air Force favored by 10.5 points, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But this is essentially the battle for Mountain West supremacy. I am not necessarily a fan of the Air Force offensive system. You know where I stand on those styles of offense.
Yeah.
But they're so good at it this year.
True.
They're so good at it. And it makes crazy numbers when we do our statistical footprints and analyses and whatnot. 9.2 drives per game on offense, which is 133rd in the nation. But they're basically scoring on every drive. Also, because they've only thrown the ball 19 times and completed 14 of them for 3 touchdowns, they're technically the most efficient passing offense in America.
Yeah.
So crazy stats. I am on Air Force here minus the number.
I'm okay with that. The fun thing about Wyoming to me this season, 2 enormous wins and a near win against Texas in the way that game was looking, is the absolute torture that Cowboy fans must be going through watching this team jump out to an early lead and then stop scoring.
I know.
And still win. I think they scored 0 touchdowns against Fresno State and Texas Tech in the second half combined. I think they scored 3 points. I think they kicked that field goal against Texas Tech to combine in those 4 second half quarters in huge upsets and score 0 touchdowns. It's quite the feat. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Let's see if they can keep it up. All right.
West implications.
All right. Those are our window rankings, Dan.
Yes.
Are there any other games that you need to mention quickly? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just drop that big, stanky drum and slithering fife for me.
We got 4 games in the Patriot League, Dan. We got Georgetown at Lehigh. Playing this one fairly close to me. I guess I could pop in and see how the boys from Georgetown are faring.
I'm going Georgetown big.
Yeah, Georgetown. Bucknell at Cornell. Battle of the Nellies.
Ooh, I'm going to go Cornell here, playing at home within the friendly confines. And what, Ithaca? Ithaca, New York?
Yeah. Give me Cornell. Dartmouth at Colgate, Dan.
Colgate's bad this year. Give me the Mouthies, Ty.
Yeah, I'm with you on the darts. And last but certainly not least, it is Fordham 4-2 on the road at Stony Brook. Stony Brook, a goose egg 0-5. Where you at?
Big money, big sharp money is pouring in on the Fordham Rams, so I'm going with Fordham as well. Lafayette, the class of the conference, off this week, right?
Yeah, I'm going Stony Brook. Big upset.
Oh my God, Ty, follow the money.
Big upset this week. We did a thing as we were going through this where you mentioned a fantasy thing and I have another fantasy thing. And since we didn't do the show this year and we missed doing these, we've got some weekly fantasy things for everybody. Which was yours? Give me yours.
Dog shots. Just because.
Oh, the cutaway.
Right. Just because of Smokey and it's Smokey Saturday at Tennessee. And I think it's Dubs is the name of the Malamute. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Husky-like breed for Washington. I think there's going to be a lot of adorable doggy cutaways. I'm going to set the over-under at 6.5. 6.5.
What you need to specify, I think, to make this better is slow motion dog shots.
Oh, sure.
They do that. They're going to do that with Tennessee. The slow motion, the hound. Yeah.
Coonhound. Yeah.
Slow motion. I've got 2. The first is something that you've probably heard so much that you don't even notice it anymore. I love when announcers refer to a kicker or a punter as a, quote, weapon.
He's got quite the boot. He was hitting from 68 before the game. Yeah.
I love when announcers do this. Tom Hart, Cole Kubelik on the call for Mizzou-Kentucky. I know you guys are listening. This is your moment. Harrison Mevis from Mizzou, obviously a bit of a weapon, right? Kicked a long field goal to win a big game. Jason Benetti on the call for Iowa-Wisconsin, another friend of the show.
Yeah.
Do the right thing, guys. Torrey Taylor, a weapon for Iowa, won some sort of Big Ten award last week. Listen for this, okay? It's going to happen. Hopefully going to happen. The power is in your hands, announcers. The second is something that I've noticed for the last season and a half.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman, the extremely photogenic coach for Notre Dame.
Hyper-specific Notre Dame fantasy thing. Continue.
The cameras love Marcus Freeman. You know this.
That's true.
Marcus Freeman wears a headset. I cannot recall a single cutaway shot of Marcus Freeman of him actually talking into the headset.
Does he usually have the mic up? The mic is always flipped up, or is it in front of his mouth?
It's up, it's down. It doesn't matter. It's uncanny.
Yeah.
I have watched all Notre Dame games over the last year and a half. I thought I was going crazy. I have been deliberate in watching for it this year. take note if you are watching this game on Saturday night. You're going to see the cutaways of Freeman. They always do it.
Mm-hmm.
You see that look of determination on his face. He always has it. Then it's basically him just lurking on what the coaches are saying.
Right.
Maybe he's listening to the radio feed from Paul Burmeister.
I think he's listening to this show.
He could be listening. I'm telling you, he never talks into the microphone.
Yeah.
In a year and a half, I've never seen one shot of him talking into it.
Okay.
Never once. I don't know if it's a Dwight fake wheel situation on Lake Wall and Paw Pack or what is going on with that headset.
Mm-hmm.
He is never, ever talking into it.
Never noticed that. Okay. He's just
You will now.
monitoring.
You will now.
He will now. Okay. So the number of conversations he's actively involved on camera is set at 0.5.
It's set at 0.5. Yeah, 0.5.
Okay. I like
It
it.
doesn't happen. Final segment on the show.
Ty versus the world.
Steve, le monde, el mundo, Sekai, Fiat, Ty versus the world.
Presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
We do this again, Dan. We do it every week. Sometimes I'm not sure why. I've been struggling to pick games correctly. I finally got one right last week. So maybe we'll start a trend here.
I can't wait.
These are my picks. My lock of the week is USC plus 2.5 against Notre Dame. I know you disagree. That's fine. Second pick is BYU plus 5.5 against TCU. I think we agree on that one. Third pick is another one that we disagree on. I'm going Oklahoma State plus the 3.5 against Kansas. So only 3 of those picks this week. But I do have another one that I think you will equally disagree with.
Okay.
We are calling this the Wonder Dog Parlay. I am going with a straight money line parlay of 3 teams in the SEC.
Ooh.
Texas A&M, Florida, and Missouri. That money line parlay gets you in around 10-1. Only need 3 teams to win. All 3 are dogs. I think all 3 are better than the teams they are playing. Texas A&M, Florida, and Missouri.
So
There's your Wonder Dog parlay for week 7.
I don't know if you can make this pick like quickly, or you can look this up quickly. If you feel good about fading Ty, if you were to full fade that parlay and go with money line South Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky, is that what it would be?
Yeah.
I wonder what that number is.
It would probably be somewhere around the same, yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, this
Listen,
is the moment, America.
Listen, I am here to help you make money, regardless of whether I am right or wrong. I don't care. I am making these picks. I am sticking to them. I will not be broken by my picking ineptitude.
Yeah,
Again,
I don't
USC plus
wager
the number.
on college football. This might be my exception to head over to the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah. Football is more fun when you're in on the action, Dan. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up with code SOLID. New customers can bet just $5. Get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Use the code SOLID. Dan, the crown is yours.
Yours.
Yes.
Raiders.
Raiders. What are you eating this weekend? Anything good?
I'm out in LA. I get to watch West Coast football on the West Coast, which means my time zones are excellent. Breakfast sandwich, maybe a burrito, maybe a semita, a Mexican sandwich that's delicious. Don't know what I'm going to do for dinner, but that's what we'll be doing the live show. We're doing, it's Saturday night, Ty?
That's right.
Midnight Eastern, Saturday night. I'll be on the West Coast doing it at 9 p.m. So, I don't know. I'm going to eat really well. I'm going to be in LA.
Daniel, enjoy your smoky Saturday. We will come armed with our cigarettes on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And get it all out there. Just express our emotions.
Believe Oregon choked again. Yeah.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hillenbrand. Enjoy your week 7. Get those picks in at verballers.com. We'll talk to you soon. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions